I never thought being 3 days late on rent would lead to my landlady pouring wine in her kitchen at midnight, leaning close enough that I could smell jasmine and whiskey, and whispering, we could work out an alternative arrangement, something that benefits us both. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. My name is Jake. I'm 30 years old, and I'm a freelance graphic designer barely making it in this city. 3 months ago, my girlfriend of 4 years left me, taking half the furniture and all of my confidence with her. She said I lacked ambition, that I was too comfortable being just okay instead of pushing for more. Maybe she was right. My parents call every week asking when I'm going to get a real job with benefits and a 401k, as if passion and creativity don't count for anything. I was broke, heartbroken, and barely holding it together. That's when I found the apartment. It was too good to be true, a renovated loft in a decent neighborhood for half the market rate. The listing said mature, responsible tenant preferred, and landlady lives on premises. I figured it was some elderly widow who needed help with yard work or something. I was wrong. Mrs. Victoria Chen answered the door when I came to view the apartment, and I nearly forgot why I was there. She was 46, though she could have passed for 10 years younger. Her dark hair had elegant silver streaks that framed her face like artwork. She wore a simple white blouse and dark jeans, but the way she carried herself, confident, graceful, utterly self-possessed, made it look like haute couture. You must be Jake, she said, and her voice was low and warm, like aged whiskey. Come in. Let me show you the space. She owned a converted Victorian house. She lived on the main floor and rented out the top floor apartment. As she led me up the stairs, I tried not to notice the way she moved, the subtle scent of her perfume that reminded me of jasmine and something darker, more complex. The apartment was perfect. Exposed brick, huge windows, enough space for my design equipment. I could already see myself working here, rebuilding my life here. I'll take it, I said before even asking about utilities. She smiled, and something about it made my chest feel tight. Don't you want to know the terms first? Right. Yes, of course. Professional, Jake. Be professional. Her home was elegant but lived in art on the walls, books everywhere, a half-empty wine glass on the counter suggesting she'd been relaxing before I arrived. She moved around the kitchen with easy familiarity, pouring herself more wine, offering me a glass. I should probably stay clear-headed for the paperwork, I said. Suit yourself. She took a slow sip, and I found myself watching her lips on the glass rim, wondering what they'd taste like. Stop it, I told myself. This is your landlady. This is inappropriate. But there was something in the way she looked at me over that wine glass, something assessing and aware, that made me think maybe I wasn't the only one having inappropriate thoughts. We went through the lease terms. Standard stuff. First and last month's rent, no pets, quiet hours after 10 p.m. She explained that she worked from home as a consultant, something in finance that I didn't fully understand but that apparently paid well enough for her to own this house outright after her divorce 5 years ago. I like my privacy, she said. But I also like knowing there's someone upstairs. The house feels less empty that way. Does that make sense? Perfect sense, I said. And meant it. We were both alone in our own ways. I moved in the next week. For the first month, we maintained a polite distance. We'd run into each other occasionally. Her coming home from a run looking flushed and gorgeous. Me hauling groceries up the stairs. We'd exchange pleasantries, small talk about the weather or the neighborhood. But there was always this undercurrent, this awareness humming between us like a live wire. I'd hear her moving around downstairs, sometimes late at night, playing music, the sound of her laughter when she was on the phone. Once, I heard her crying soft, muffled sobs that made my chest ache. I almost went downstairs to check on her, but stopped myself. Not my place. Not my business. The second month, we started having actual conversations. She'd catch me working on the porch, would bring out coffee, would ask about my projects. I learned she'd been married for 15 years to a man who'd left her for someone younger. Classic midlife crisis, she said with a bitter laugh. Except I was the one left dealing with the aftermath while he got to play out his fantasy. I'm sorry, I said, meaning it. Don't be. Best thing that ever happened to me. Honestly. Turns out I like being alone. Like making my own decisions. Like not having to consider someone else's opinion on everything from what to have for dinner to what color to paint the walls. Is it lonely, though? I asked. Sometimes, she admitted, and the honesty in her voice made something twist in my chest. But lonely is better than wrong. I understood that. My ex and I had been wrong for each other for years before we finally admitted it. We'd been comfortable, familiar, but not right. Not really. The third month, I lost my biggest client. A corporate rebrand that was supposed to carry me through the quarter just evaporated when the company decided to go with an in-house team instead. Suddenly, I was staring at my bank account with growing panic, doing math that didn't add up no matter how many times I recalculated. Rent was due in 3 days, and I was short. Not by a lot, just $400, but it might as well have been $4,000 for all the access I had to it. I could call my parents, but I already knew what they'd say. This is what happens when you don't have a real job, Jake. This is what happens when you chase dreams instead of security. I couldn't do it. Couldn't hear that disappointment in their voices again. So I did nothing. For 3 days, I avoided Victoria, slipping in and out at odd hours, ignoring the polite knock on my door that I knew was her checking in. On the third night, at almost midnight, there was another knock. Firmer this time. Insistent. Jake, I know you're in there. I can see your lights on. Shit. I opened the door. She was standing there in yoga pants and an oversized sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. No makeup. Looking somehow more beautiful than I'd ever seen her. Hi, I said weakly. Rent was due 3 days ago. I know. I'm sorry. I'm working on it. Are you? She wasn't angry, just direct, cutting through the bullshit. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked into my apartment, her apartment, technically, and looked around. My design equipment scattered everywhere. Empty coffee cups, the evidence of someone working desperately to make money appear out of thin air. You lost a client, she said. It wasn't a question. How did you? I've been there, Jake. I know what desperation looks like. She turned to face me. How short are you? I'll have it. I just need a few more days, maybe a week. How short? God. Her eyes were intense, brown flecked with gold, looking at me like she could see right through every defense I had. $400, I admitted. I know that's not much in the grand scheme of things, but right now it's everything, and I'm sorry. I'll have it. I just need. Come downstairs, she interrupted. What? Come downstairs. Have a drink with me. Let's talk about this like adults. This is wrong, something in my head whispered. This is how things get complicated. But I followed her anyway. Her kitchen was warm and inviting, soft lighting, casting everything in amber tones. She poured 2 glasses of wine without asking if I wanted any, handed me one, and leaned against the counter. I have a proposition, she said. My mouth went dry. A proposition. You're a graphic designer. I need a website redesign. My current one is 5 years old and looks like it was made by someone's nephew in 2005. She took a sip of wine. Do that for me, and we'll call it even for this month. Relief washed over me. Seriously? Seriously. I was going to hire someone anyway. Might as well be you. Victoria. That's thank you. That's incredibly generous. It's practical, she corrected. I need the work done. You need to make rent. We both get what we want. Everyone wins. But the way she was looking at me didn't feel practical. It felt dangerous. She pushed off from the counter and moved closer, refilling my wine glass even though I'd barely touched it. You know what I like about you, Jake? My heart was pounding. What? You don't pretend. You don't put on a show or try to be something you're not. You're just real. She was close now, close enough that I could smell her perfume, that jasmine and something else that made my head spin. Most people my age have forgotten how to be real. Maybe not. Her eyes held mine. But there's something about you. Something I recognized the first time you walked through my door. You're lost, but you're not broken. Hurt, but not hardened. Do you know how rare that is? Victoria misses. Chen is so formal, don't you think? We're going to be working together. You should call me Victoria. She was right in front of me now. I could see the gold flecks in her eyes, could count the silver threads in her dark hair. My hand was trembling slightly as I set down my wine glass. This is probably a bad idea, I said. What is? Whatever this is? This moment. Why? The question was simple, direct. Because you're my landlady. Because you're 16 years older than me. Because people would say it's inappropriate, that I'm taking advantage, that you're... I've spent my whole life caring what people think. Where did it get me? A failed marriage and an empty house. It's not empty, I said quietly. You're here. Something shifted in her expression, softened. Say that again. You're here. Upstairs. I hear you moving around, playing music, living your life. The house isn't empty anymore. For a long moment, we just stood there, inches apart, both knowing we were teetering on the edge of something. Then her phone rang. She closed her eyes, took a breath, and stepped back to answer it. Yes? Oh, hi, Mark. No, it's fine. I was still up. Mark? I'd heard her mention him before her ex-husband. No, you can't come by to pick that up tonight. It's almost midnight. Because I said so. That's why. Mark, we've been divorced for 5 years. You don't get to just show up whenever you feel like it anymore. The conversation went on, her voice getting tighter, more frustrated. When she finally hung up, she looked exhausted. Sorry, she said. He does this. Calls with some excuse why he needs to come by, tries to insert himself back into my life in little ways. I think he regrets leaving, but he's too proud to actually say it. That must be hard. It's annoying, she corrected. I'm over him. I've been over him, but he can't seem to accept that I'm actually happier without him. She picked up her wine glass and drained it. God, I sound bitter. You sound honest. She smiled at that. See? That's what I mean. You don't try to make things sound better than they are. We talked for another hour. About her marriage and what went wrong. About my ex and why we fell apart. About career pressures and family expectations and all the ways we'd both felt like we were failing at life. I'm supposed to have it figured out by now, she said at one point. I'm 46. I should have a perfect career, a happy marriage, maybe kids who are off at college. Instead, I'm divorced, child-free by choice, which people love to judge, and working from home in my pajamas most days. I'm supposed to be more accomplished. You own a house in this city, I pointed out. You're self-employed and successful enough to consult from home. You've survived a divorce and come out the other side strong and independent. That sounds pretty accomplished to me. When you put it that way, she smiled. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Maybe we both are. At some point, we'd migrated to her living room couch, sitting close but not touching, the conversation flowing easily now, wine loosening our tongues and our guard. Can I ask you something personal? She said. Sure. Do you think about me? Upstairs? Alone? At night? My heart stopped. Victoria, it's okay if you do. I think about you too. I hear you working late, and I wonder if you're lonely up there. If you ever think about coming downstairs. If you ever imagine. She trailed off, leaving the sentence unfinished. But I knew what she was imagining. Because I'd imagined it too. Her hands on me. Her mouth. The way she'd taste, the sounds she'd make. This is dangerous territory, I said, my voice rough. I know. But she didn't move away. We should probably call it a night. Talk about the website project tomorrow when we're both sober and thinking clearly. Probably. Still, neither of us moved. She reached out and touched my hand where it rested on my knee, just her fingertips against my knuckles. But it felt like an electric shock. Jake. Yeah? I'm glad you moved in. Even if this is complicated. Even if it's a bad idea. I'm glad you're here. Then she stood up, breaking the moment. Good night. We'll talk about the project in the morning. I went back upstairs with my head spinning and my heart racing, replaying every moment, every word, every loaded silence. That night, I barely slept. Over the next week, we fell into a new routine. We'd meet in her kitchen in the mornings to discuss the website project over coffee. Professional meetings that somehow always turned personal. She'd tell me stories about her consulting work, the difficult clients, the satisfaction of solving complex problems. I'd share my design process, show her mock-ups, explain my creative choices, but underneath the professional conversation, there was always this current running between us. The way her hand would brush mine when she reached for the coffee pot, the way she'd lean close to look at my laptop screen, her perfume overwhelming my senses, the way she'd say my name, like it was more than just a name. One afternoon, I was working on her porch when a man showed up, mid-50s, expensive suit, the kind of confident swagger that came from never being told no. "You must be the tenant," he said. "Mark," I realized. Her ex. "Jake. Nice to meet you." We shook hands, and his grip was just slightly too firm. A dominance play. Victoria mentioned she'd rented out the upstairs. Young guy? Graphic designer? She didn't mention how young. The emphasis on young was deliberate. A challenge. "I'm 30, I said evenly. "Ah, 30, he smiled. But it didn't reach his eyes. Perfect age. Young enough to still have energy, old enough to maybe know what you're doing? In theory. Before I could respond, Victoria came out. "Mark, what are you doing here?" "Just picking up those files I mentioned. Didn't realize you'd be entertaining." The innuendo was clear. "Jake lives here," Victoria said coolly. "And he's working. Not entertaining. Did you really come by just to make inappropriate implications?" Touchy. Mark held up his hands. "Just looking out for you, Vic. Making sure you're not doing anything you'll regret." "When have I ever done something I regretted?" The challenge in her voice was sharp. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. "I'll just get those files." After he left, Victoria was visibly tense. "I'm sorry about that." "He has no right to. He's jealous," I interrupted. "He's not," she stopped. "Okay, maybe he is. But he has no claim on me. We've been divorced for 5 years. He made his choice. Now he has to live with it." She looked at me with something like gratitude. "Exactly. Why doesn't he understand that?" That night, there was a knock on my door. Victoria, holding a bottle of wine. "I had a terrible day. Dealing with Mark's bullshit. Want to help me forget about it?" We ended up on my couch this time, drinking wine, talking about exes and regrets and all the ways people hurt each other. "He said something to me before he left," she admitted. "He said I was going through a phase, trying to feel young again by surrounding myself with kids. Like you're just some toy to make me feel better about getting older." "What did you say?" "I told him to go to hell." She took a long sip of wine, but it got in my head. Am I doing that? Is this about trying to recapture something? "Is it?" I asked directly. She looked at me for a long moment. "No, it's not about your age. It's about the fact that you see me, really see me, not as someone's ex-wife or someone's midlife crisis. Just as Victoria. That's all I've ever seen." Her hand found mine in the space between us on the couch. "This is probably a mistake." "Probably," I agreed. "People will talk. They will. Your parents would disapprove. My ex would be insufferable about it. Your friends would make jokes. All true. And yet," her thumb traced circles on my palm, sending shivers up my arm. "I can't stop thinking about you, Victoria." Her name came out as almost a plea. "Tell me I'm not alone in this. Tell me you feel it too." "Every day," I admitted. "Every time I hear you downstairs. Every time we're in the same room. I can't stop wondering what would happen if I leaned in slightly. She didn't pull back. Our faces were inches apart. I could see every detail, the gold flecks in her brown eyes, the faint lines at the corners that spoke of years of smiling, the way her lips parted slightly. "If you just—" "What?" she whispered. "This." I closed the distance, and her lips met mine halfway. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, both of us testing this new territory. Then, her hand came up to cup my face, and everything intensified. She tasted like wine and something sweeter, and the small sound she made against my mouth nearly undid me completely. We broke apart, both breathing hard. "This is really happening," she said, wonder in her voice. "Is it a mistake?" "Probably." She smiled. "But I'm tired of always doing the right thing. Tired of being appropriate and careful and considerate of what everyone else thinks. Just once, I want to do something for myself. Something that feels this right." She kissed me again, deeper this time. And I was lost. My hands found her waist, pulling her closer. Her fingers threaded through my hair. We were both letting go of every reason this was a bad idea and just feeling instead of thinking. When we finally came up for air, she rested her forehead against mine. I should go, she said, but made no move to leave. Should you? Before this goes further than we're ready for. I want this, Jake. I want you. But I don't want to rush it and ruin it. I understood. This was too important to mess up by moving too fast. Tomorrow? I asked. Tomorrow, she agreed. We'll figure this out. Together. Over the next 2 weeks, we dated in secret. She'd come upstairs after dark, or I'd slip down to her place. We'd cook dinner together, watch movies, talk for hours, and we'd kiss long, slow kisses that left us both wanting more but holding back. Why are we being so careful? I asked one night. We were tangled together on her couch, my arm around her, her head on my chest. Because when people find out, and they will, I want to be able to tell them this is real, she said. Not just a fling. Not just me having a midlife crisis or you working through your breakup. Let's build something solid before we have to defend it to the world. She was right. But God, it was hard being this close to her and not letting myself have everything I wanted. During this time, I was also finishing her website. I'd pour myself into the work late nights, refining every detail, making sure the design reflected who she really was. Clean, sophisticated, but with warmth underneath. Professional but approachable. Strong but not cold. I wanted to show her through my work what I couldn't always say with words, that I saw her completely, understood her deeply. When I finally presented the finished website to her, we were in her kitchen, my laptop between us on the table. I walked her through each page, explaining my choices. The color palette, deep blues and warm golds that felt both professional and inviting. The typography, elegant but readable. The layout that put her expertise front and center while also showing glimpses of her personality. She was quiet as I clicked through the pages, and I started to worry. Maybe I'd gotten it wrong. Maybe I'd been too personal, read too much into who she was. Then she looked up at me, and there were tears in her eyes. Jake, she touched the screen gently, as if it might disappear. This is exactly who I want to be. Who I am, underneath all the armor. How did you know? I pay attention, I said simply. This isn't just a website. It's art. It's me, but the best version of me. She closed the laptop and took my hands. You have such talent, such vision. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not successful or that you need a real job. What you do, this matters. Coming from her, those words meant everything. My parents had never understood my work. My ex had tolerated it. But Victoria got it, saw the value in what I created. You really like it? I love it. And I'm going to tell every one of my colleagues about you. You're going to have more work than you know what to do with. She kissed me then, soft and proud. Thank you for seeing me. Really seeing me. That moment felt like a turning point. I wasn't just the struggling younger guy who couldn't make rent. I was talented, capable, worthy, and she'd helped me see that in myself. The first real test came when my best friend Ryan visited. I'd mentioned I had a new landlady, but hadn't elaborated. When Victoria answered her door in yoga pants and a tank top, Ryan's eyes went wide. That's your landlady? He hissed when we were alone upstairs. Dude, she's hot. Don't, I warned. Don't what? State the obvious? Come on, you've noticed. Tell me you've noticed. I've noticed. And? He was grinning. And nothing. She's my landlady. It would be inappropriate. Inappropriate is my favorite word. He laughed. You should go for it. It's not that simple. Why not? You're both single. You're both adults. Where's the problem? She's 16 years older than me. So, if the genders were reversed, no one would bat an eye. Hell, it would be considered normal. Why shouldn't you be happy? It was a fair point. But I couldn't tell him the real reason I was hesitant, that I was already in too deep, and I was terrified. That night after Ryan left, Victoria came upstairs. Your friend seems nice. He is. He's also nosy and has no filter. He asked about us. Didn't he? How did you? Because that's what friends do. They look out for each other, make sure you're not making mistakes. She sat down next to me. Am I a mistake, Jake? No. Are you sure? Because I keep waiting for you to wake up and realize this is insane. That I'm too old, too complicated, too much baggage. Victoria, I took her hands in mine. You're not too anything. You're exactly right. Even though I come with an ex-husband who won't leave me alone, even though people will judge, even though your parents will probably hate this, I kissed her hands. I'm in this. I know we said we'd take it slow, but I'm already all in. I just need to know if you are too. For a moment, she just looked at me, and I could see her wrestling with something. Then she made a decision. I'm in. Completely. Terrifyingly. All in. Then we tell people. We stop hiding. Are you ready for that? No, I admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. We started with small steps. I introduced her to Ryan as Victoria instead of my landlady when he came by again. The way I said her name must have given us away because he just grinned and said, "About time." My parents were harder. When I called to tell them I was seeing someone, my mother was excited until I mentioned Victoria was 46. The line went quiet. Did you say 46? Yes. Jake. She's almost my age. She's 16 years younger than you, Mom. That's not the point. The point is, she's old enough to be, well, much older than you. What do you two have in common? Everything that matters. My father got on the line. Son, are you sure about this? I mean, what does a woman that age want with someone your age? The same thing I want with her. Connection. Understanding. Love. Love? My mother sounded faint. Jake, you barely know her. I know her well enough. And I'm calling to tell you, not ask permission. I'm 30 years old. I get to make my own choices. There was a long pause. Finally, my father said, we just want you to be happy. I am happy. Happier than I've been in years. Then, I guess we need to meet her, my mother said, though she didn't sound thrilled. Victoria's ex was the worst. When he found out through neighborhood gossip, apparently he showed up angry. You're fucking the tenant? He shouted at her door. Really? Victoria? That's low even for you. I came downstairs when I heard the yelling. You need to leave. This is between me and my wife. Ex-wife? Victoria corrected coldly. And Jake is right. You need to go. You're making a fool of yourself, Mark sneered. Everyone's talking about it. The desperate divorcee and her boy toy. Get out, Victoria said, her voice like ice. Now. Or I call the police. He left, but not before throwing one more barb. When he gets bored and leaves you for someone his own age, don't come crying to me. After he was gone, Victoria was shaking. He's wrong, I said, pulling her close. I'm not going anywhere. But what if he's right? What if in a few years you realize you want someone younger, someone who can give you children, someone who… Victoria. Stop. I tilted her face up to look at me. I don't want someone younger. I want you. All of you. Your intelligence, your strength, your vulnerability, your past, your future, everything. Even though it's hard, especially because it's hard, because you're worth fighting for. She kissed me then, and it was different from our other kisses. Desperate, claiming, like she was trying to convince herself this was real. When my parents finally came to meet Victoria, I was terrified. But she was amazing, warm, intelligent, funny. She talked to my father about his work, asked my mother about her garden, shared stories about her consulting business and the website I'd designed for her. Jake's work is extraordinary, she told them over dinner. I've already referred him to 3 colleagues, and they're all as impressed as I am. He has such a gift for understanding what people need and translating that into visual form. You must be so proud of him. My mother softened visibly at that. Someone seeing value in her son's work, treating it as legitimate and important. By the end of the evening, I could see them warming to her. She's lovely, my mother admitted as they were leaving. Really lovely. And Jake, I can see why you care for her. But honey, are you prepared for how hard this might be? The judgment? The complications? I am. And what about children? Have you two talked about that? We have. And we're on the same page. Which was true. Victoria and I had talked about it. She didn't want children, never had, and I'd realized that was okay with me. I wanted her. Not some abstract idea of what a relationship should include. 6 months into our relationship, Victoria got a job offer. A consulting position that would require relocating across the country. Prestigious. High-paying. Everything she'd been working toward. She told me over dinner, and I could see the conflict written all over her face. "It's an incredible opportunity," I said. "It is. You should take it. Jake, I'm serious. This is your career, your dream. You should take it. What about us? We'll figure it out. Long distance for a while, and then maybe I can relocate too. My work is portable, especially now that I have a solid portfolio and client base thanks to you. You do that? Uproot your whole life? For you?" "Yes," without hesitation. She was crying now. "I don't deserve you. You deserve everything." She turned down the job, not because of me, she insisted, but because she realized that what we had was worth more than any career opportunity. That she'd spent enough years chasing external validation and was ready to prioritize what actually made her happy. "Besides," she said, "with your talent and my network, we can build something amazing right here. Why do I need to chase someone else's opportunity when we can create our own?" A year after that first late rent payment, we were still together, still navigating the complications, still dealing with judgment and weird comments. My mother had come around but still made the occasional pointed remark about grandchildren. Mark had finally backed off after Victoria threatened a restraining order. Ryan and my other friends had accepted her, even started including her in group events. We'd moved past the landlady-tenant dynamic. I paid rent like clockwork now, and we kept our finances separate. But we'd moved into something deeper. Something real. On the anniversary of that night, I knocked on her door with a bottle of wine. "I come bearing gifts," I said when she opened it. "And what are we celebrating?" "1 year since you offered me an alternative payment plan?" She laughed. "Worst business decision I ever made. Best personal decision. No regrets? Not a single one." She pulled me inside. "Well, maybe one." "What's that?" "That I wasted so much time being careful and appropriate before you. All those years I could have been making beautiful mistakes." I kissed her then, long and slow. "We're making up for lost time." "That we are." Later, tangled together in her bed, she said, "You know, people still whisper about us. At the grocery store, at neighborhood events. I heard someone call me a cougar last week. Did you correct them?" "No." "Let them think what they want. I know the truth." "What's that?" "That I'm just a woman who fell in love with a good man. And it happens that he's younger than me. So what?" "So what?" I echoed. "You know what the best part is?" she asked. "What?" "I spent my whole marriage trying to be what Mark wanted. The perfect wife, the perfect hostess, the perfect everything. I exhausted myself being perfect." She propped herself up on one elbow to look at me. "With you, I don't have to be perfect. I can be messy and complicated and uncertain. And you love me anyway. I love you because of all that, not despite it." She smiled. "See? That's what I mean. You get it. You get me." 6 months later, I asked her to marry me. Not because it was the next logical step, not because of pressure from family or society, but because I wanted to build a life with this woman who'd taken a chance on me when I was broke and broken, who'd taught me that love doesn't follow society's rules, that the heart wants what it wants. Age and propriety be damned. She said yes. We got married in a small ceremony with just close friends and family. My parents were there. Finally, fully supportive. Her sister flew in from Seattle. Mark was notably absent, which was fine by everyone. During the reception, Victoria's sister pulled me aside. "I worried about her after the divorce," she said. "She was so closed off, so determined to prove she didn't need anyone. But you opened her back up, made her believe in love again. Thank you for that. She did the same for me. I know. That's why this works. You saved each other." Maybe we did. Or maybe we just found each other at exactly the right time, when we were both ready to take a risk on something complicated and beautiful and real. People still whisper sometimes. Still make comments about our age gap. Still imply that there's something inappropriate about our relationship. We've learned to let it roll off. Because we know the truth. Sometimes the most beautiful mistakes are the ones we never regret. Sometimes love shows up in unexpected packages in the form of a landlady who offers an alternative payment plan, in late-night conversations over wine, in the courage to choose happiness over other people's expectations. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you find someone who sees you completely, all your flaws and fears and failures, and loves you not despite them, but because of them. That's what Victoria gave me. That's what we gave each other. So if people want to judge, let them. We'll be too busy being happy to care.